Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of WCM Fireside Chats. I am Brian Searl with Insider Perks here with my regular co-host, Ben Quiggle from Woodall's Campground Management, as well as Cara Braeutigam from the Canadian Camping and RV Council. Just a reminder that we are live on multiple different Facebook pages. If you would like to take part in our discussion, which is open today, then please comment and we can pull those in and respond and put those up on screen and involve you guys in the discussion. We are also available as a podcast on iTunes, Google, Pandora, all those kinds of places. And so if you're obviously listening now, then you're either already listening on the podcast or watching on video and don't need to listen to the podcast. So I'm really not sure the value of me telling you that, but it is what it is. So, I think we're going to start off the show talking about the Oscar Mayer Weinermobile thing that Ben Quiggle brought up, because we were talking about that. And then Cara said, let's go live and talk about that. And so,
well, it's live time. I mean,
so just
whether you like it or not.
The thing, Ben, or
I mean, literally before we just started this thing, I was scrolling through the news and Planters is hiring peanutters to drive nutmobiles, and they have like this really cool picture of this nutmobile, I guess, that you would drive around if you got hired by them to do it, kind of like an Oscar Mayer Wiener.
Oh, I was just going to ask, what's Oscar Mayer Wiener got to do with this?
I put the link in our comments on our Facebook page.
Oh,
but
good.
It has a really good picture.
Yeah, I'm sure there's probably a ton of applications and people interested in that. So, but yeah,
I mean, I'm going to check it out.
You're what? I'm sorry?
I'm going to check it out right now.
I can't. Like I've got two screens here, so I'm upset now.
I guess it's
go check it out too. Can you pull one of these things to an RV site? Like, can you sleep in the back of it?
I mean, if it would open, I would I would tell you. I can't see it. I don't know.
I feel like it's an important thing to put a cot in the back. So,
I like peanuts, but I don't know if I would like peanuts that much. Are they going to make me just eat peanuts when I'm driving this thing?
Oh, this is a career opportunity for you. I see. I was wondering what the connection possibly could be.
But
this is an open discussion, right? We talk about anything. Like, so Ben's got a list of topics. We got Matthew on here who's going to talk to us about this really cool RMS virtual conference in a second. But first, I feel like I've been waiting for this for like a month to complain a little bit, because it's an open discussion and I can talk about anything, right? So I'm in an Airbnb right now, and when I looked at this place to book it, there was no snow on the ground anywhere, and I got here and there's snow. And so I'm going to leave a bad review when I leave.
It's winter time for a large part of the world.
That's I thought it was going to be tropical when I came here.
Good luck.
You can ask for your money back at the end as well.
I know. Yeah. My money back.
Be that guy.
The toast thing. We need in the industry. We got to put our foot down on this stuff.
Yeah, no good.
So you won't tell us where you're at. So we should be doing like this "Where in the World is Brian" segment for this show now.
Well, he gave us a clue there was snow.
People could start
that's a
guessing.
clue.
Maybe
So
he's in northern Texas.
Brian will give you $1,000 if you guess where he is.
Brian, you have electricity at the moment.
That's fine. Yeah, you can have $1,000 if you guess where I'm at.
I think Matt asked if you have electricity at the moment. Do you have electricity?
We're gonna narrow it down. You do. So you're not in Texas.
Oh,
then.
apparently not.
Oh, come on. There's from Texas who suffered through that stuff.
I lost my power last week for a couple of hours, and I was, it's my kids were like, what are we going to do? We can't watch Netflix? Like, what?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was like, come on, the world.
But I guess we were going to start talking. Maybe you guys have heard RMS is going to be doing a summit here this in a couple weeks. I'm looking up the exact dates because I don't want to get it wrong, and I can't remember the exact dates. Matt, do you remember? What are the dates?
It's March 16th and 17th.
Okay, so we invited Matt just to talk a little bit about what RMS is going to be doing for the summit, because it's kind of it's a unique summit. It's going to be virtual, and they're going to have quite a few different topics on industry kind of trends and different things. So I guess Matt, just tell us a little bit about why you're doing the conference and what's going to be involved, I guess.
I'm super disappointed that I have to miss it and I can't be there. So
it's virtual. You can go.
Yeah, you can log in, Brian.
Yeah.
Hour where you are.
Unless
take a look.
You're in that remote of a location. Somehow you have Wi-Fi today, but not
on the 16th of March.
Yeah.
I'm going to be busy. Don't make me like look bad from that.
Yeah, it's on 2 days, the 16th and the 17th. We did one last year, and it was really popular. But it was in person in our offices in San Diego. But this year, obviously, we can't even be in the office, so we can't invite people to be in the office. So it's last year it was just for clients, and this year we're opening it up to people who are not clients as well. And it's a 2-day event, and we start at the 8 a.m. Pacific time, which is 11 on Eastern, and we run for about 5 hours. There's 4 or 5 hours worth of stuff. We've got keynotes. We have our one-on-one session. So this was hugely popular in our first one, where people got to speak to like an expert one-on-one, and so we have like 30-minute sessions where people can talk to our staff, and I think this was one of the most popular things we did. And we have 4 keynotes for campgrounds, and I'm going to have to cheat because I'm going to have to look it up. We've got one on revenue management, which is like one of the nearest and dearest to my heart because I spent lots of times in hotels in the past in revenue management. We've got the future of what's happening at the end of COVID and post-COVID. And I think, Ben, actually, you're moderating that one, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And then we have a discussion with Diana from Camp Cal Now on, and Ben, I think as well. It's about the extended stay trend. You know, people that are actually don't live in their house anymore, gave up their rent in San Francisco, and they're now like digital nomads, and that discussion will be around that. And then we have one that's basically a marketing session with Trevelino Keller, which is the marketing company. Dean, the founder of Trevelino Keller, will be talking, and Angela from Inside Perks will be on that one as well. So we've got some pretty interesting stuff happening over the 2 days.
And I heard Quiggle was moderating that one for Angela. So is there anything that Quiggle is not involved in at your conference?
Well, I don't know if I'm doing the COVID one. I'm monitoring the one with Angela, and I can't remember the session title for that. And then I'm doing the session with Diana Kelly. So I'm only doing 2.
You're monitoring or you're moderating?
Moderating.
All right.
Yep. So
I guess you could do both at the same time.
I'm pretty excited about the conference, the summit, just because I think there's going to be a lot of interesting discussions, and I think bringing it virtually obviously allows more people to take part in it, which I think is great too. So
yeah, it's awesome. So how do we sign up? How do we register? Where do we get access?
So if you go to our website, rmsnorthamerica.com, there's a link at the top, and it's 60. Well, until today, it's $65 to attend, and we actually have like a discount today for the people that are listening. And if you use the code Woodalls50, you will get 50% off the entrance fee. It's on the About link, and then IHS Summit.
Will you put that in the chat real quick? On the
I
page?
will. Yeah, let me put the direct link there, and that way people can go straight there.
Oh, I think I put a link.
Oh, you did? Oh, Ben,
yeah,
that's great.
Thank you. Junk off there, Ben, because that's all just the tracking for analytics, and it'll confuse people thinking they have to type that out.
1 second, I'm working on it.
He's working on it.
So what else we got? I mean, what's the reason RMS is putting this on? Like, I mean, obviously now there's an opportunity to attend people for virtual and stuff like that. What is the goal of this conference if it came out perfectly in your mind?
Well, I guess this is a way of, like, getting spending some time with our clients and other people within the industry to kind of give them information on what's happening out there, and in a forum that they're not. We do webinars every month as well. So this is a way of kind of compressing what we talk about on a lot of those webinars during the year into a couple of sessions. So it's education, industry education, and we just hope people come and learn some stuff, and and become better marketers and better a lot of the a lot of drawing people towards your parks is to do with marketing. So a lot of those, it's understanding your client and how to market to them.
Absolutely. What's the schedule like? Is it jam-packed, or is it a couple sessions a day so folks can just squeeze it in?
There's like 2 keynotes in both days, and then you can choose to. There's a whole bunch of breakout sessions as well, and we also have the slots for the one-on-one. I mean, you don't have to attend it all. You can pick and choose the things you want to attend. And for those people that have cabins, we also have like a hotel stream as well. So there might be some things in the hotel stream that might be of interest as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Ben, while he's talking, why don't you pull up the website and just share your screen and we can take a look at it.
Yeah, 1 second.
You put like a hubs.ly. I don't know what that link is you just put in there, but.
Will the content be recorded in case schedule timing doesn't work for attendees?
I think so. I'll have to get back to you on that one, but I think so.
Yeah, no worries.
I think it's been recorded.
Awesome.
Let me see. I'm trying to get this thing up here. Let's see what it looks like. Can you guys see that or not?
No, sir.
Yep.
Now I can.
I have to click on and share it. So I love the way this thing screen shares like this. Really happy with this platform we're using. So
can you see it now?
Yep.
The RMS page?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is where you can find the information about the summit. There's some speakers. They wisely didn't put my picture up here because I would scare people off really quickly. So
we have a comment in the chat, sorry, that it looks like booking is closed. Is that
should not be true?
Maybe Ben, go try.
Yeah, Ben, try. And feel free to use your credit card and get us all tickets.
I mean, you get a discounted rate.
Rare. Reserve your ticket today. Let me see. Oh boy, here we go. Is your property ready? Oh, it says closed. Regular registration closed. So
wow. That means that it must have hit capacity. Let's get that open back up again, because I'm not sure. I'm typing with my support team at the moment to find out what's going on.
Awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, man.
We're so glad we could actually bring value to you, Matt.
Teamwork.
So here's the speakers. I mean, some of them are pretty familiar, like Diana Kelly from Camp Cal Now. She's pretty familiar if you're involved in the campground industry. Some of these aren't as familiar, but I like some of the, meeting these new people because they come from different aspects of which is great, because I think, there's a lot of things we can learn from each other, not just need to just stick in the campground industry, like the lodging and like hotel industries that we can learn, new processes and new ways of doing things. There's Lodging Magazine, which is a magazine I don't think I've heard of, so I probably check that one out. There's my picture.
Wait. What picture is that? I've never seen that picture before.
You've never seen that before?
No, I don't know. That's from a couple of years ago, because
high school picture.
No, that's not high school. That's only from a couple of years ago, but I've gained a little weight since then. So
it's weight. We all did. We all collectively did it. Okay.
So there's a doctor.
Wow.
Doctor, he's strategy consultant, Majid Associates. So
I am jealous. Like, I feel like there's got to be a website I can get a certificate that I can call myself a doctor. So I could be a doctor of marketing or something.
You could just start calling yourself a doctor if that's your.
Who's this guy?
Theory.
Matt Gill.
Yeah, you're gonna say my last name.
Who's that guy?
name.
There you
Yeah.
go. I dare you to say my last name again, Ben.
I'm just going to call you Matt G. Matt G. Raul. I think I've spoken with Raul before. He's a great guy. Fred.
Oh, look
I don't
at
think
Fred, man. He's got the swagger suit.
Yeah, he
going on.
does.
50s,
Killing it.
Not
Glamour
bad.
shot, right?
Chief Revenue Officer. That's a title. The man deserves that title with that suit on.
That's a lot of numbers. That's a lot of dealing with numbers that I don't want to deal with. So Amanda Williams. So you've got quite a bit of your RMS staff on here too. That's going to be speaking. So,
The site's opened up again now, so I was just like typing with our marketing team were watching the podcast and they're like, oh no. Let's open back up again.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, marketing team.
And then here's the schedule sessions. So,
Cool.
And these are all in Pacific time, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So add 3 hours for East Coast.
Okay. So this one's 8 a.m. So that'd be 11 a.m. East Coast. So I mean, for people on the East Coast, you're not even having to wake up early to get to that keynote. So just the Pacific Coast people. So it looks like you guys. It looks like it's mainly morning through the maybe early afternoon.
Yeah.
So
that way people on the East Coast don't, they're out as well before office hours close as well. So
right.
Okay. All right.
Well, it
Yeah.
depends on what you do later. I mean, like at the Canada show, we just broke out the wine and stayed all night. So
wow.
Yeah, I was shocked actually at how many folks were hungry to do that, which is good.
So okay. Well, and what's the software you guys are using? Have you guys used the virtual software before?
No, this is the first time we're using it before, but I am gonna have to get back to you. I don't remember the name of it. I know it starts with an S, but they were really impressed because you can because of all the breakout sessions, and I just got 3 pings on my Zoom. Thank God for Zoom. Socio is the name of the product.
RMS's marketing team is on it.
Socio.
Yeah.
No, they're very excited about being able to use this software. So
that's awesome.
Well, that's great. Well, I think you guys can. Well, I don't know if there's anything more to show on the site. Is there anything else you wanted to point out on the site, Matt?
Oh, I took your screen share off, Ben, so sorry.
Oh, that's good. So I
can pull it back on if you want me to, if he points me anything. It's still sitting there, but
so okay. Well, I mean, I'm really excited about the summit. So just the additional education and stuff and getting updates from people. So
yeah, there's never too much education, right? So the more we can have, the better.
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially, I mean, at that price point with a cool discount code, I mean, you can't go wrong.
So I do have an answer back for you about the recording. So they are recorded, and so you can actually listen to it on demand as well. So we're like the Netflix of virtual summits.
So awesome. Yeah. See, you don't have to be available on the 16th.
Wait, Netflix keeps raising my prices every year.
Yeah. Yep.
What are you suggesting?
Who doesn't? Does
that's why
not do that?
That's why you get a mobile phone plan that includes Netflix, and then you don't have to pay for it.
That's not a thing in Canada yet. Oh, you guys are so lucky.
There's a couple. They all team up now, so you pay for one thing and you get another thing for free. It's great.
I think I get HBO Max as part of mine with AT&T, but I don't know.
Lucky.
Yeah, I don't think I get anything like that. I get Disney Plus and ESPN and Hulu. It's all combined. I don't know if I have anything.
I just get a big giant bill every month. There you go.
That's always true.
Thank God for that.
So I guess one of my other questions would be, so can people pay for the recordings after the show? So like I can't make it to the summit, but I want to watch the recordings afterwards. Is there a separate way for them to pay?
If you pay for the summit, and then you will get this Ananda. It's like Netflix. You can go back in and watch the thing you want to see.
Okay.
Does it stream in 4K like Netflix with Dolby Digital Audio?
How good's my face now on this camera? That's what I'm going to say.
This is what you get. This is the standards we're meeting. Yeah, it's good enough. It's awesome. No, it's exciting. It's always great to have access to great educational content like that. It's cool to see it happening virtually. It makes it so accessible to so many folks. And like Ben said, it's really cool to have different perspectives brought to the table and learn from folks with different experiences. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, I think as the glamping thing takes off, I think we can learn a lot from like the hotel industry on the service end of things and how they do different things. So
maybe. Yeah. What hotel you're learning from?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think some campgrounds and things like that are gonna do that better than a hotel ever can. But I'm biased.
So, well, I think we'll get into some news now.
Cool.
Are we letting Matthew go? Or are you hanging out with us?
Do you want to hang out, Matt? You can hang out as long as you want.
We'll never kick you out. Contribute.
I'll give you great information about how to get Netflix for free, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's life-changing.
But yeah, you can hang out as long as you want. I don't know how busy you are. You know, if you're like me, you just lay around all day and don't really do anything. So I take a lot of naps.
Ben reads news about the peanutters.
Yeah, the peanut.
Fox News top headline, it even says. Top headline. Wow.
All right, what else do we got? What do we want to talk about here?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think, you know, we didn't mention, you know, it's been a few weeks. I think the beginning of February, you know, David Berg passed away, which, you know, hit the industry pretty hard, I think, anybody who's involved with Arvik, but I just kind of wanted to mention that. And I know we've been personally involved with him. I think he came on the show at the end of November, early December, and spoke with us about a few things, but I was really sad to hear that he had passed away. So he's really...
Ben, yeah, I wanted to bring up too, CCRBC did lose a board member also this past week, George Goodrick, who has spent years championing our industry. He works for Adventure Sports RV in Nova Scotia. He's been a fabulous just supporter of the industry in general. He's really fundamental to CCRBC's existence. He's been representing the RV Dealers Association of Canada at our table for all the years CCRBC has been around. He was, you know, chairman of RVD of Canada's board for a time, I think, more than once. He's just always been a really incredible contributor to the industry here in Canada, a good friend, a good, kind man, an incredible loss for all of us industry-wide. But definitely, I think our group at CCRBC is really feeling that loss. And I wanted to just send condolences to everybody in his family and on his team in Nova Scotia and across this country who called him a friend and like myself, really took lots of great advice from him over the years and relied on him to support our industry. It's a massive loss for us, and he will be greatly missed.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's always
to meet him, like a David Berg, like I talked to him in passing too and stuff like that. Like, I had never really got to glean kind of the knowledge that some of my peers had, just because we just didn't cross paths as much as I would want it to. But all good things, you know, again, same thing, leader in the industry, all that kind of stuff. So it's
terrible shame.
People,
yeah. I mean, I saw some great photos of David Berg that were passed along here the last few weeks. You know, I've ran into him a few times, but not really get to talk to in depth with him. And he was always willing to share like comments for stories and do different things, like come on our show and talk about different topics. So he, I think one of the pictures I had seen Arvik was circulating was him with his big red. He had like a 48 Ford that he delivered lobsters in at his campground in Maine. So that was kind of neat. Just seeing that truck and kind of what he was able to do with the campground. So he'll definitely be missed in the industry. So
yeah, it's monumental loss for all of us. I think on both sides of the border, when you kind of have these really strategic individuals who contribute over and above their own businesses and their own, interests to just make things supportive and collaborative and successful. It's so difficult to lose that.
Yeah, definitely. But I guess transitioning from that, we did see some good news this morning. Care Camps announced a big partnership with Patrick Industries, which is like an RV parts supplier. So they supply a lot of different parts to like RVs companies and boating companies and related industries. They're doing a huge partnership with Care Camps. A lot of they're going to be doing some fundraising, and I think they wrote a check to Care Camps already. It didn't specify how much the check was for, but they're going to be doing numerous gifts and different things to Care Camps, which is great. And for people who don't know what Care Camps is, they provide kids with cancer and their families a chance to go spend time at like a special oncology summer camps where they can get the care they still need since they're fighting cancer, but they can also experience outdoors and camping. So that's great. So
Go and be kids for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's great to hear Patrick stepping up like that. And I know a lot of people in the RV industry have, and a lot of people in the campground industry as well. So that's great to hear. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Any support for Care Camps is great to see. I know we're here at CCRVC kind of working to launch some more initiatives with them too, specifically to support their camps on this side of the border. So it's, a incredibly valuable organization. I'm so excited to get to work with them.
Yeah, definitely. We also saw that RV shipments were way up again. I think they were up almost 40% in January. So that's great year over year. So
interesting thing I would like to know, like we all know that RV shipments are up, right? But are these shipments that are up for, you said January, are they orders from like last July that are just now getting filled, or are these placements of new orders that have been made in January that will be filled months later?
Yeah. So I think, it's important to be cautious about these numbers because, like you said, lots of times those things are catching up. But I think what we're seeing now is this trend where every month it's 40% and 50% and things like that. So now it's kind of setting this trend where, maybe they're catching up, but we're seeing those numbers stay really positively successful month after month.
Yeah, and the dealer demand is still there. So obviously, the dealers just need the units so bad. And I know from the dealer perspective, they keep saying that dealers are having tons of customers still coming in and wanting units. So so I imagine some of it's catching up, and then some of it's just trying to keep up with new business. So
either way, it's great. I was just curious which one it was. I didn't know if you had any data on that. So
no, the numbers just show the shipments. So the numbers of shipments that the manufacturers are shipping, they don't really the monthly numbers really don't dive too much into.
It's probably like they keep
into those
capacity and churning them out faster, and that's why the shipment. Okay.
Yeah, I know SSI. Oh man, I can't remember the full name of the company. They do like a retail sales numbers. Statistical Surveys Incorporated. They do like retail numbers for the companies, like sales numbers. So I think maybe that breaks down a little bit more into what you're talking about. So, but I haven't seen anything recently from them. So, but I also saw the Canadian numbers. I guess I think the Canadian numbers were down a little bit, right, Cara? For various reasons.
Well, yeah. So I think there's some limitations surrounding, getting stuff across the border and all kinds of tariff impacts and things like that. But and also, I mean, the depths of winter here. And I think, we're seeing things like the used market really doing some incredibly surprising things too. So, there's some hurdles. You're hearing about there being zero place to store RVs and stuff because all of the storage facilities are full. If we're shipping in thousands of new RVs every month, we're going to need somewhere to park them, when they're not being used and things like that. There's all kinds of little ripple effect stuff happening. And I think typically, we're seriously impacted by the seasonality of things. But I think, I know lots of the RV dealerships that I specifically work with here in Alberta are really amping up sales and doing some unique stuff. They're renting out big commercial facilities to do kind of indoor but COVID safe, scheduled appointment-based sales and things like that. So they've got some unique, cool stuff that they're strategically working on to, keep product moving. But I think overall, definitely, that's a typical thing we see at this time of the year. Things slow down in the cold, and we'll see things pick back up here in the coming weeks.
Do you have any clarity, Cara? And then I'll ask Ben the same thing about the U.S. But do we have any clarity about how, like, we're talking about RV shipments, but what about glamping shipments, like tents or cabins or things like that? I mean, obviously they're up and there's delays, but do we have any clarity how much?
No, I don't have clarity about how much. It's actually one of the things I'm kind of most excited about in kind of fallout from the Canadian conference we just held in January is we've established great relationships and connections with a lot of those product providers. And so I'm hoping to be able to gather that data from them better going forward. But I think there's also, it's such a, that sector of the industry is in its infancy really here in Canada. So, I expect we'll see this. Yeah, I expect we'll see this quick, like suddenly we'll see a bunch of units probably move and then it might drop off for a bit and then level out. But I do think, orders, if you haven't ordered your glamping units already, you might not see them in 2021. So, there's some backlog stuff to consider there too. And I think that's going to be a hurdle in getting those sales and numbers and moving that product around. I mean, probably cumbersome to deliver a TP, which is tough during a pandemic too, I think.
Yeah, I think down here in the U.S., I mean, we call the companies and we talk with them directly, but I don't think we don't have any like compiled data from someplace. I mean, that would be great, but there is so many different companies.
Yeah.
And even at Woodall's, we don't even, we talk to quite a few of them, but there's new ones popping up all the time. There's a ton of really small tent makers that we don't even really get to. I mean, it would be difficult. Plus we have UK companies that are coming over and selling tents and having more success now over here too. So,
if only there was like a way we could bring them on without them traveling here. I know.
But yeah, someday that mystery will be solved, maybe.
But when we talk to all the companies, it's they're saying that they're backed up. They're they're selling like crazy. I would note like the park models. It's kind of curious with the park model segment because when we read these monthly reports from RVIA, like in this new one from January, park model RVs ended the month down 7.8% compared to last January. But when we talk to the PMRV companies themselves, like Cavco and Skyline, which are the bigger ones, and even like some of the smaller ones, they all indicate to us that they've been busy, that they've been shipping out units, that they expect a really great 2021. So it's kind of interesting to see. It would be interesting to know why every month they keep saying that the shipments are down, but when we talk to the actual companies, they say that shipments are are doing extremely well. So
I think, like Brian pointed out, it might be valuable to do a bit of a deep dive on, how they're measuring these analytics. What are the specific factors? Are we talking specifically just shipments, and then what is the timeline for that? Are these shipments from orders 8 months ago, or are these shipments from orders last month? And what is the time disparity there? I think all those factors probably have a huge impact on what those numbers look like. I have connection with a couple of park model manufacturers here, and they're pre-sold for a couple of years. So
yeah.
Well, let's put a show on it then. We need some stuff for April, right? So
I know on the Cavco front, maybe what's impacting the shipments too is the fact that they have a bunch of orders, but then they also had to shut down for a little while for COVID. And then I believe, at least with Cavco Industries, they've had some problems getting people back to work and finding enough employees. So it's definitely, at least when I talked to them in the past, I don't know about right now, but in the past it had slowed their production ability down. So they weren't shipping as many units, not because they didn't have orders, but just because they couldn't pump out as many units.
Windows and crazy things like that either. So there's a ton of factors here.
We just want to understand it, right? Nobody's questioning that it's good and it's great for the industry, and they're doing really well. We just want to understand.
Oh, of course. Yeah, it'd be cool to hear.
Matthew, I don't want to leave Matthew down there. I don't know if you can answer
just hanging out.
RMS specifically, have you guys seen any trends with reservations coming into the season in 2021, or is that not your department? Or
I think
we're putting you on the spot.
I know you are. I normally look for this stuff.
Hang around, and I didn't want to leave him in the corner.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I think that one thing that we're seeing coming, because we have parks are doing pretty well, right? It's not like they were even doing well during the pandemic, especially in certain states where there weren't a lot of lockdown, and a lot of parks actually got classified as because they're places where people live, they were kind of open for business. So those parks did pretty well during the pandemic. I think what happened was that it's pretty steady, right? People still know that a park is much safer to stay because it's outdoor. You're within your confines of your RV, and so I think it's what I've been hearing a lot of is there's a lot of big business coming in and buying up a whole bunch of land, and I mean this is just what I've heard from the grapevine. I mean, don't fact check me on any of this stuff, but I know that there's a lot.
Do any fact checking yourself.
I think there's a lot of expansion happening in the park market at the moment, and that's what we're hearing. So there's a lot of people that are developing land to become parks and stuff like that. So I think as far as the park industry is concerned, from our meager point of view, it's going really well. It's a great time to be an owner in a park, I believe.
Are you seeing a shift towards more glamping, reservable inventory, like tents and cabins and those kinds of things?
I think it depends. Some people are going more of an extended stay model. Other people, there's a lot of change happening, right? We have a lot of people saying we want to reconfigure our inventory to be more extended stay now. We want to reconfigure our inventory to be more transient now. It depends, I think, on the park, right, and the market. And so I'm just going to say a lot of change. I don't think that there's a lot of people going out and buying a whole bunch of cabins, because I know just from personal experience trying to get through a renovation in my house, there's not a lot of builders and people to actually do the work. So, you're on these big, long wait lists if you want any type of construction to happen, and you need to know someone. For property developers, I think it might be a little bit of a different situation, but I think, people converting to more cabin or that type of thing, I think it's probably tough, if you wanted to. There's probably demand there for it, but we're not seeing a lot of people converting their inventory to cabins. And do you know what I mean? If that makes
Right.
sense.
What's interesting with this COVID thing too, when we're talking about these unique accommodations, a lot of them use a lot of wood. And, we've talked before on here about the wood prices going up, and it'll be interesting to see how that impacts campground owners' ability to buy cabins and different things. Because I think I was reading last week or over the weekend, Fortune was saying that the price of a new home went up $24,000 because wood prices are up 180%. And I mean, when you're looking at like a park model or a cabin, I mean, I imagine those prices have to be going up just to meet the wood, how much wood cost is. So I wonder if that impacts park owners' ability to expand when they're looking at cabins and things.
The thing is I think this is going to change a lot, like in the next few years, right? I mean, I think COVID exacerbated some of the lumber costs and the work things that Matt was talking about. But we've known for a while, or at least I have, being the geek that I am, that 3D printing is coming. They 3D printed an entire neighborhood in Mexico, and I read the other day that they 3D printed the first house in New York State. That they're selling for like $230,000 because it's basically a novelty, right? But you can print these things between $4,000 and $8,000. Like, it's probably cheaper for a cabin or a, not a house, right? And if you can print them on site, you can print them out of other materials besides wood. Like, you obviously can't ship cinder blocks or cement to a campground because that would be way too expensive, but you can print it on site. So I think it opens up a few different avenues for, and again, that's a couple years off still, right?
Yeah.
But I think it will be exacerbated and maybe pushed forward a little bit by the COVID and labor shortage and situation that we're going through now too.
Yeah.
Pushes people to get innovative.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm super interested. Like, if this backlog gets out of the way, right? Could you make a campground with all cabins or glamping that you just solely did on Airbnb? I feel like that would, depending on the destination, that would probably sell like crazy, at least right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing. Sorry, Matt. I apologize.
No. Go.
We've got a couple of properties up here that are primarily have rentals. So whether they're those geodesic domes or outfitters tents or whatever, where 60 or 70% of their inventory is a glamping unit. I know some people don't like that word, but and then they also have RV sites on site, but it's not the primary kind of revenue source for them. So there are people going that way. I think, like Matt pointed out, it really depends on the park. It depends on there's so many factors in each scenario. You need all kinds of permitting and stuff to do different things. Now you have to consider things like sanitization between guests and all kinds of extra stuff that could be difficult if you don't have access to staff. I mean, there's a ton of factors that go into those choices, but I think it's doable for sure.
I don't, with all the extra stuff, campers are definitely demanding more of the cabins and the glamping stuff. There's definitely a segment. It'll be interesting to see if this kind of slow, for the campground owners, whether it kind of slows down the momentum they had towards adding more of those, because they do have to have more staff and cleaning and the costs. I don't know. I mean, maybe if there's some campground owners listening, maybe they can comment on if they're adding a new cabin and if the costs are going up and stuff like that. So
challenges with labor and stuff like that Cara brought up. But you're also talking about charging $150 to $300 to $400 a night versus $30 to $80 for an RV site.
Right. But you do have access now suddenly to this segment of the market that doesn't own an RV, that would like to try to vacation or go on a trip more domestically and wants to do it in a way that feels safe and secure to them, that's maybe a little bit more secluded than in a hotel or a standard hotel. So suddenly there's appetite from travelers who are used to spending $100 and some a night to vacation in a different way. And so, it's an interesting strategy to try to capture some of that market.
Matt, since you're on,
I was going to actually say, just adding into what Cara was saying, I think there's a lot of people, even, just hearing the buzz around the office, people that you wouldn't consider traditionally people that would be part of outdoor kind of tourism. They're kind of saying, well, we're going to go and buy an RV, and then it takes them 2 months or 3 months to get an RV. And then there's not everyone can afford an RV, right? But they still want to be able to go and do something. And I think that, it's just, I think, there's a new demand. It's a different demand as well. And I think that, if you have that infrastructure already, but going back to another thing that I've, heard off the street, counties and things like that, because of these permitting processes, it's taking a lot longer because they're not used to working in this very reduced model or remote model. So to get permits to go through, I know that this has been very difficult for owners as well. So if they do want to change any type of their infrastructure, it's becoming, there's a lot of roadblocks to actually do it. And I think that was a really good point that Cara made about the logistics of not only that, you still have to get someone to connect up the water and the sewer and all of those types of things. I know you can buy a box and put it on a piece of land, right? There's a lot of those types of things out there now, but you still have to do all that connection stuff and this, and I think there's probably definitely delays on that type of stuff as well.
And I think the public's more aware too, on some level, of what's going on in the campground sector, because it seems like every time we read about somebody wanting to expand or or build a new park, the public is in that area is really aware of what's going on, and there's definitely can be issues where the public comes and doesn't like the idea or wants major changes. So that's kind of slowing down stuff too.
Matthew is bringing to this conversation. Like, he's got all this word on the street. Like, he hears it on the street. Like, why do you not hear anything on the street, Ben? Why?
I mentioned that. I just don't use the term "word on the street" all the time. Come on. I did.
I mean. It's just like what people talked, we hear from
course, yeah.
Like, everybody's going to Matt with their news and insider information. So maybe we swap.
I'm a good listener. No.
Yeah.
I'm a good listener.
So Ryan's saying in the comments, more and more of my friends are seeking cabin camping like crazy, especially since COVID began. But then immediately afterwards, we hear we are a small footprint campground on the Eastern Shore. And our experience in the last couple of years is that people are actually moving away from traditional RV cabin style camping. So that's interesting too, is maybe there's a geographical component factor here too. Certain parts of the country maybe are doing things differently.
Comments at once. I can only put one up at a time. You're going too fast.
No, I'm comparing them, that they both came in at the same time, and are saying really opposite things. And it goes again back to what Matt was saying about how different parks can be. I mean, location matters, demographic matters, your available market matters. There's so many factors that go into that.
I want to put up Ryan for a second, because Ryan is my new hire at Insider Perk. He just started this morning.
Oh, wow. Welcome, Ryan.
Get paid for it. So, anyway, that's Ryan. Hi, everybody say hi to Ryan.
Hi, Ryan. Welcome.
And then we have, I'll put up Warner's here. Warner's comment you were reading too. That.
And he also commented, or she, I don't know if it's Werner. Is it his name or her name? I don't know. Well, we suspect, she also mentioned that we suspect that a combination of social trends, income, and obviously COVID plays a role. So there's a bunch of different ways.
Yeah.
So.
I think that's also an important thing. Like, as I was really careful about saying that I think that there was a lot of parks that were adversely affected because of the state mandates, right? And it was very difficult for them to operate under the conditions and the rules that the states had put in place, and even the counties, right? Even being in San Diego, and I'm helping run a business, so I know a lot of the things, right? It's not only this, California is pretty restrictive, but then there's county restrictions on top of the state, which is on top of the federal stuff. So you've got multiple layers of that. For some people, it just went completely the other way, and we've heard of people that had to close their doors because basically they couldn't get over all of hurdles, which is, super unfortunate. And some people have been super lucky, but I think in most cases it's trending more. But just to comment on one is, we've heard about these situations as well, where it hasn't been all roses,
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, there's parts of Canada that are still there's that Atlantic bubble out in the eastern provinces where they're not really letting anybody, even, Canadians in. So, that has a really difficult impact on those local, especially tourism-based businesses and things like that are, trying to make ends meet. It'll be interesting to see what happens out there this spring and if they open things up a bit more. Otherwise, I do think we're going to start seeing campground operators out there, having to make some hard decisions about the longevity of their businesses.
Matt, since you're here, I don't know, are you familiar with RV Travel, the newsletter that goes out to thousands of RVers every week? Is anybody familiar with RV Travel?
I've heard the name, but I'm not. You can explain it in a second, but I just want to say, Cara, and same thing with Ben, if you guys know any campgrounds that are struggling with restrictions or not being able to get the kind of people that the rest of the industry is seeing, send them to me and I'll help them for free and do whatever I can do to help save their business. So
absolutely. I hope if any of them are listening, reach out to Brian too.
Yeah, and that's through your company, right, Brian?
Yeah,
you can give yourself a plug. Insider Perks.
I mean, we're not going to design a brand new website for them, right? But I'm happy to sit there and talk to them for an hour or two about consulting and how to shift their marketing to local and see what we can do for free to help them. So,
yeah. So I guess since Matt was here, I wasn't really going to bring this up today, but since Matt's here and he works for a reservation provider, why not? RV Travel had this article that kind of talks about dynamic pricing. And I was a little hesitant to mention it because I know campground owners get a little jittery. They're a little afraid that RVers are going to find out that they're doing dynamic pricing for some reason and tell other people, and that it's going to scare people away from their park, which I don't really know if that's true because they've been doing it in hotels for a long time. But he, one of his writers wrote an article about, it's titled "Campground Crowding, a Secret Reservation System Code That's Costing You Money." and it kind of goes into how bad dynamic pricing is. It was really kind of shocking to me because it's just surprising, I guess, because they do this in other areas like hotels and airlines and stuff, and it's just kind of surprising how the campground.
The blunt truth is, Ben, there's a lot of people who don't like dynamic pricing. We're aware of that. There's owners that aren't happy with it, and obviously some of the guests aren't happy with it too, because why would you want to pay more than your neighbor, right? But the blunt truth is this: we've seen campgrounds that refuse to do dynamic pricing sell and get taken over by a larger group who owns multi-properties and triple their revenue in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I mean, not like it, but you're literally leaving money on the table.
And this is when people come to me, because I come from a revenue management background and it's all about dynamic pricing, I talk about milk. You go 2 miles that way, it costs you 50 cents less than if you go that way, right? And they have dynamic pricing is everywhere in every market now. And to say that, you only have a $45 price and that's it forever is kind of a little, it just doesn't exist in today's world anymore. And people understand it, right? You're going to get a discount when they're empty, and you're going to get it's going to be more expensive when they're full. I mean, it's just that simple.
Well, take your milk example, right? So yes, I mean, my mom was one of those people when I was a kid, right? She would go out of her way to save 40 cents on a mop at the other Walmart that was 20 miles away. Didn't make any sense to me because she was spending the money on gas. But it never worked, despite how many times I tried to point this out to her. But anyway, the point is that it's the experience too, right? So you're talking about campgrounds and different types of experiences they provide. So if that milk was $1 more expensive further away, but they had somebody meet you at your car in non-COVID times and walk you in and give you a concierge service to help you discuss the different types of milks and the brands, and then it's worth paying that extra $1. So it depends on what you're doing at your campground, what you're offering your guests, all those kinds of things.
But can I say, not to everybody. So my thing with this whole argument is, this is just like, if you offered a certain amenity in your park, or, some parks choose to not have dogs. So people with dogs aren't going to go to that park. This is another factor that consumers get to use in choosing the experience that they want to have, that is a priority for them. If somebody met me at my car and wanted to talk to me about milk, I would want to punch them in the mouth.
Yeah, so
I'm never going to want
clear. I'm not advocating for the milk concierge. But.
No, I'm just saying, I'm not going to be the type of person who chooses that experience. I prioritize something else in my purchase choices. And I think this dynamic pricing scenario is no different. I think those consumers who want a certain type of experience at a peak time, in a certain type of campground, are going to pay the money, and those that value, making sure they always get $45 a night site, are going to go to those campgrounds. And so I think, just like we constantly say on this show, there is room for everybody at this table. I think there are consumers out there who value that mom and pop type campground that doesn't use dynamic pricing and still takes their reservations with a pen and paper and those kinds of things. And so maybe you're right. Maybe someday those campgrounds will, have to kind of be forced to make changes. And if that day comes and they're nimble enough, they'll do so. It's just kind of the reality of consumerism, I think.
Right. I think the other thing is,
you have to be forced to move to dynamic pricing, certainly, but the fact remains that you are leaving money on the table. If you're okay with that, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the other thing is, there are strategies, right? And I can go on and talk about this for a long time, but you can still sell to those people that are your VIP people at the same price. Like, the person who comes new to your website doesn't know on the 14th of May last year, your price was $47 and now it's $58. They don't know. So you have to have strategies in your rate. Sorry, I get super passionate about this because this is my history, but there's strategies for dealing with those types of guests that come to your place every single year and want to stay at site 105, right? You want to treat those people with the gold, with the red carpet, the same way you did every single year, and you should treat them the same, right? Mm-hmm. And there's strategies with rates to make sure that Mr. and Mrs. Smith stay at the same rate and the same experience year in year in year. But that doesn't mean that you should stop having things like dynamic pricing, right? Exactly. For those, because if you want to keep attracting people, those people don't know, right? And they're used to it. And it's a subset of the market that is probably in that kind of old mindset. So that, I mean, there's a lot of things that can be said. I think you can have both.
Just like Cara said, there's value in that old mindset to a certain segment of people. And they're just like, there's people who would stay at national parks to be closer to nature, who don't care about all the amenities like Wi-Fi and pools and all those kinds of things. And so there's plenty of room for all the things to go around. So
yeah, I think the key is remaining really adaptable is incredibly important, more so than I think prioritizing, doing the same thing that everybody's doing all the time. So
I think. Yeah, I mean, I think maybe too the campground industry gave themselves a little bit more of a headache because they waited so long to do some of this stuff. They're definitely. I mean, I put the link to the article in the comments. So if you click on the link, you can see the article has a lot of reader feedback. So I mean, there's quite a few quotes, and if you go down, it's interesting just to see what some of these people think. But I think some of it too is they just waited so long to implement stuff like this, and people are kind of reacting negatively.
It's new. It's a change. Lots of people don't do well with change. And I think as time goes on, people are just going to kind of begin to understand the fundamental kind of decision making behind it. And if they don't, they'll stay at the campgrounds that don't do dynamic pricing yet.
Right. And again, just like we've discussed, there's so many people in this industry to go around that person who doesn't want to stay with dynamic pricing is going to be replaced by somebody who does.
Yep.
Don't be afraid of it. if that's something, if that's the direction that you want to take your campground. And
For
don't
sure.
be afraid to not do it either, as long as you're comfortable with where you're at and where you're going and what your business model is.
Yeah, it's important to kind of measure or weigh all of the factors and understand a topic too. Nothing's more frustrating than hearing somebody make the argument that, I don't want to do that, but they can't back up why. It's important to understand the dynamic behind it. Talk to somebody like Matt, who's really passionate about it and can give you some great information about the strategies you could use that could make it work for you. I think those things are incredibly valuable in making those decisions.
Yeah, Matt, what's the word on the street about this?
He already said.
Well,
I
as
know
I
it's
said,
his
I think
opinion,
you can live in both worlds. You don't need to
Yes,
pick a lane,
exactly.
right? And that's the thing. If you have your strategy set up properly, you can live in both worlds. And why would you, if someone's willing to pay you more, why would you cut off your nose to spite your face, right?
Sure.
But you can keep the same thing for your, those people that want that kind of fixed price model. I just think those people that want the fixed price model are the people that come to your campground year after year after year, right? And so who those guests are. You don't you can maintain still being that bastion of fixed pricing if you want to a certain segment, and then to the other people that you can make more money on, you make more money. I think they're mutually exclusive. You can do them both. You can have both situations.
Absolutely. I love that.
I think when we talk to campground owners, I haven't heard any negative experiences once somebody switched over to that kind of pricing model. Usually it's, I can't believe I waited this long, or,
Yeah.
I haven't really heard any negative experiences. Maybe they have a few people at first that don't like it, but then they move on and, they make more money. So when you make more money, some of that negative attention doesn't seem to bother you as much. So,
well, but again, I mean, just it is important. Like what Cara said is important. That it's a personal preference. Like if you're okay with doing pen and paper, and you're okay with where your business is growing X percentage a year, and you don't want to grow, you don't want to get crowded, you don't want to, if you're just happy being you, then that's fine. Continue to be you.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing about kind of everybody getting to run their own little business and make those choices for themselves. And it's important that, like I said, adaptability, very valuable.
Another piece of news I thought was interesting as we turned the calendar into this year was, we've been hearing a lot about solar power and energy and electric, sources for power, different things. And when we turned into 2021, it seemed like some of that really took some attention, because I think GM announced that they were going to try to go electric only by 2035, I believe. And that in turn has led to quite a few articles about electric RVs and, whether we're going to be seeing some of that here down the road here pretty soon. And I think it's an interesting idea that, campground owners kind of need to think about. I know when I've spoken with electric component suppliers to the campground industry, they kind of say that some places have started buying chargers, but not a lot. And, but it's a very interesting concept, that we could be seeing all electric RVs here soon. And what does that mean for campground owners?
It's demand based partially, right?
Yeah.
At the beginning. So if you've got a company that starts manufacturing electric RVs by the thousands or tens of thousands, then campgrounds are going to add that because they want to have those people at their park. Whether there's a higher charge for that site, certainly that's acceptable if that's causing the park to have a higher electric bill, right? But they're going to put in those pedestals if there's tens of thousands of RVs driving around that are electric. So,
well, and again, those folks with the electric RVs are going to seek out the campgrounds that can service them, the way that they expect. And so there's definitely, it goes back to that kind of technology piece Brian was talking about before, where we're going to see some pretty significant transitions, not just in our industry. I think across, tons of industries, we're going to see lots of really big technological changes over the next 10 years as we're, striving for better green sustainability numbers. And I think this industry will be no different. I think it will be a significant undertaking, but as a camper myself, Darlene says solar sites could be the new amenity. So yeah, and I do think, I mean, there's campgrounds here. There's a campground here in Alberta that received some grants and put in a massive solar field and is not only powering a large portion of the campground, but also providing power back into the grid and making some money back too. So, there's some interesting stuff to hear that you could potentially dive into now when it's early, and start preparing for.
In our next issue, in the next issue of our magazine, we're actually going to have a big feature on solar, and how campgrounds have integrated that and how it's benefiting them. There's a couple campgrounds in North America that operate solely on solar power. So,
there's also on an individual site basis too, right? Like the Brian Diamond, KOA in New York. We worked with them a couple years ago. She's had for years a solar cabin that runs completely on solar. Just not the whole park, but just a cabin.
Yeah.
It has panels on the roof and all kinds of stuff. And so these things can be done. And like Darlene's saying, that's an amenity. That's something that can attract a certain segment of guests who maybe not even they're super interested in green. They're just interested in something different, right? To say that I took it here, I can take a picture and put it on Instagram or whatever it is and share it with my friends. And so there's benefits to those kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, I just brought it up just because I think it's something that campground owners need to keep an eye on. I mean, I don't think people are going to rush out and buy chargers or whatever, but there are, like, Winnebago is working with a company to make an all-electric RV. There is a European company that makes an all-electric RV already. And so, I mean, definitely something to keep an eye on. And as like more manufacturers like GM and companies like GM go to all electric, then that'll definitely have an impact on RVs too, since they help manufacture a lot of the motorhome components and bodies and engines and stuff. So
you've got time. Go ahead, Cara. I'm sorry.
No, I was disagreeing with him.
Yeah, you've got time to adapt. It's just being adaptable. And so, I mean, I don't know. I probably told you on the phone this, Ben, and maybe you, Cara, like about the autonomous RVs. Like, they're going to come where the RVs drive themselves. They're already developing trucks that are going to be here in a year or two. It's not a leap forward to say that RVs are going to do so. So if you've got an RV that can drive from New York to LA without stopping, what happens to the overnight campgrounds?
Yeah, this was what I was going to bring up, is those sorts of things, I think, not just from an infrastructure and campgrounds perspective, really could impact the industry in some unforeseen ways. Like Brian said, if you don't need to stop because you're tired or whatever, if the vehicle is doing all the work, there's some concerns, I think, valid concerns from those campgrounds on the way, along the road to wherever you're going, that maybe that impacts their fundamental business model, and that's concerning for sure.
Right, but you've got time. Like, you've got 10 to 15 years, or if not 20, before it becomes mainstream enough where everybody owns all those RVs to impact your business as an overnight park.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep. At it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. That's where I think I like the articles that talk about it, because, we definitely need to get in the mindset of, obviously you're not going to be changing anything right now, but you need to keep that, in your head, looking at your future business plan. So I think we would be remiss to not mention the Texas winter storm before we end the show, at least. I mean, that was just so surprising. I don't think anybody anticipated Texas getting hit like that. I was reading today, they were saying $200 billion. It could cost the state $200 billion plus, which is worse than Hurricane Harvey, and there was another hurricane. And all 245 counties were underneath a winter storm warning, which was the first time that's ever happened. So that's just incredible. So what they've been going through. And I know we've spoken with some park owners, and just the type of stuff they've had to be dealing with as far as frozen pipes bursting and taking in people who didn't have any electricity or anywhere to live. just taking them in and providing them with some basics if they could and stuff like that. So it was just incredible what the whole state went through. So, and the increasing price of energy in the state, that was really surprising too. So
one of the negatives of a free market that has no regulation caps. So
Dynamic
it was
Dynamic pricing.
Ryan said it was a nightmare. Yeah, it looked like a nightmare.
Ryan lives in Dallas, so
Yeah, I mean, I think we all live, except for maybe Matt, but like Cara and Brian and we all live in northern areas. So, we read about what, when I first read about what Texas was going to get hit with, I'm like, oh, that's no big deal. But because, we're used to it. But obviously it exposed the fact that, one, Texas isn't used to cold weather like that on an extended basis. And two, the infrastructure just wasn't ready for something like that, which was unfortunate because millions of people suffered, and hopefully they can rebuild back stronger, I guess, and get their infrastructure back in shape. So
well, that's the whole thing you could unpack, right? I mean, 2011, they had another cold snap, and everybody told them that they should make all this stuff winterproof, and they ignored them and didn't pass regulations and force businesses to do it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's all kinds of rabbit holes we could go down there. But yeah, I mean, at some point, like, nobody wants more regulation, but some regulations are actually good and protect the consumer. So
Ryan also mentioned, we were talking about the solar, that he had a friend that wanted to go off grid. There is a unit an RV unit that already is completely powered by solar. It's not a motorhome, it's a travel trailer, and I can try to look it up and get people the link for that if they're interested in looking at it. So
yeah, and then briefly, Ben, I know you wanted to touch on some of the conferences that are coming up here in March for the associations.
Oh yeah, I mean, we didn't get into that, but yeah, I mean, the conferences are going on. I think some are doing virtual, some are in person, and I mean, I've heard some real positive things for both. So
yeah, run them through the shows that are coming up in March.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I know the Mid-Atlantic show is happening here, starts tomorrow. That one's happening in Tampa Bay. They decided to move to Tampa because they couldn't host it in person in Delaware. And, that one starts tomorrow. The Louisiana one started today, which I believe is also in person. And we've got the Wisconsin show, which is coming up. Wisconsin Association of Campground Owners show is coming up here in Wisconsin, the middle of March. I'm not exactly for sure what the exact date is for that. And then the Michigan one, the Michigan Association of RV Parks and Campgrounds is hosting one. And then we've also got some later spring ones that, California, Texas, Florida.
Ben, he's got to leave us, so we're running over.
Thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you guys for giving me the opportunity today. Thanks. Have a great day, everyone.
You too.
Of course, thank you.
All right, go ahead, Ben. Sorry.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've just got it's great to be able to see these associations, being able to, whatever method they're doing, in person or virtual, just being able to host their conferences, and hopefully the depending on the association, and hopefully it's a benefit to their members. So whatever they're doing. So
cool. Yeah. Did you find that for solar? Or?
I'm still looking for it. I actually talked to the guy because we do.
I mean, no pressure, but you're the one who said you were going to look it up. So
I know, and I can't remember the name of it, but well, I would probably have to do a little bit more research, but I can find it and put it on the comments when I find it.
Overpromised, under-delivered.
It is what it is. But anyways, I talked with them, and hopefully the company's still in business. Who knows if they're still in business? It was pre-COVID. It was in 2019 when I spoke with them last and got a tour of the unit. So hopefully they are still in business. maybe that's why I can't find it. But it was a smaller travel trailer, and the battery was designed to be completely powered, and it could last for a day or two. And once the battery ran out, then you just hooked up your solar panels, and you could recharge the battery, and you could also leave the solar panels out full time if that's what you wanted to do. So it's completely powered by a solar system.
What happens if there's a cloudy day? Is there like a crank on the side you can send your kids outside to wind, or?
Well, I imagine that's why you keep the battery fully charged. So like if if you've got a cloudy day or you're not getting very good solar energy or whatever, you've got your battery backup. So
I'm just asking.
I'm not a big,
I have the crank on the radio, so.
I'm not, I've explored solar a little bit, but I'm not, solar so I'm not exactly for sure how the cloudy day and the battery and how all that works. So
battery. You're 100% right. I'm just messing around. So
Yeah.
So I've looked into getting a solar panel for my home.
Yeah, I'm interested in it too. And I admit, same thing. I'm not as savvy as some folks for sure. I know our cabin property in BC, we've been looking at, doing some alternative energy stuff out there too, between geothermal and solar and stuff. It's interesting to explore.
And a lot of the new RVs do allow you to hook up solar panels to them. They are getting, there's a place called Go Power, a company, which we've ran into a bunch of times at shows. So there is ways for people to adapt their current RVs to go off grid and use solar power. I'm not for sure exactly how that impacts all the functions of some of these travel trailers, if they can stay fully functional, or if, obviously there's limitations. I have no idea. So
just the incoming wattage in the controller. Like I travel with solar panels and a generator everywhere I go. So just, it's just the connectors and the wattage and having enough power to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
When you don't. So, but anyway, what time has it been? Like, are we going to talk all day here? Like, I feel like
12:20. I mean,
wait, I want to shout out to Darlene. I think she's still listening. Darlene, I got my toque. It's so beautiful. I love it. Darlene sent me a toque. I guess you guys, what do you call it? A beanie?
No, I don't know what toque is, but where is it?
It's not here currently. It's actually in my car. I took it with me snowmobiling this weekend, and it was fabulous and kept my head nice and warm the whole weekend.
You don't like it enough to carry it with you 24/7, obviously.
Shush now. Darlene, it's gorgeous and beautiful. And if your business has a Facebook page, can you drop the link in the comments for anybody who wants to check out your cool stuff? And next week I'll show off my toque.
It's cold outside.
Darlene, make Ryan a toque.
Darlene,
No, that's Ben's link.
Darlene came through and said Evolve Teardrop, which Evolve is a company that does smaller teardrop solar travel trailers. Yeah. So I don't know if that's the exact company I was talking about, but she came through with at least one company that's doing something. Now they're not huge RVs. Like I haven't seen like a huge motorhome powered by completely solar.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
You wouldn't really take a huge motorhome off grid anyways, would you? I guess you could, but like,
I mean, it depends on the wattage again. Like I've got a 100-watt solar panel that's probably like this big by this big. So it just depends on what you can mount on the roof and how you configure it. Like
my brother has a 36-foot Class A motorhome and often goes off grid for long periods of time in it.
I guess when I was thinking off grid, I was thinking like going in the backwoods, but I mean that wouldn't necessarily be off grid. That's more off road. So
too, I feel like it might be an issue.
So, but yeah, so we can wrap this up. I think we talked about a lot of good stuff today. So it was great that Matt was able to stick around a little longer because I think he added a lot to some of the discussions. So it was great to have him on, and hopefully people will check out the RMS Summit that they are going to be doing here in a couple weeks. It sounds very interesting. So, and of course, people love to hear me drone on about stuff. So just another opportunity. So, and maybe next week, Brian will give us another clue in this Where's Brian adventure. that he's been going on. So
Maybe, you never know. Unlikely.
Okay. Well, thanks Ryan for commenting. He's commented a bunch too. He has a couple comments here on the solar. It looks like Forest River might have something as well. So, well, thanks everyone. Next week we're going to be talking about marijuana.
We got to talk after the show about April still, right? We were going to do that. So
Yeah. Yep.
let's talk about our April show when we get off the air, but really appreciate everybody being here with us. Super great show. Really impressed with Matt and all the commentary as usual by Cara and Ben, and whatever little value that I brought to the conversation as well. And so, yeah, really looking forward.
Yeah.
What are we doing next week? What's next week?
Marijuana, tourism, weed tourism.
Well,
So
yeah, we'll be talking about cannabis, I think, and how it's how that works in some of the parks. And
Is marijuana legal in Michigan, Ben?
yes, it is. And
I'm going to need to demonstrate how this works at campgrounds next week then for us.
I'm going to get a smoke machine going, so it's going to be all smoky, and I'm going to wear like a Jamaican beanie hat. So
like a Woodall's branded bong.
Okay.
wow.
Yeah, I won't get fired for that one.
Marijuana is legal across Canada. I know campground owners are dealing with some of the fallout of that and some hurdles surrounding it. I know there are some campgrounds that are specifically doing cannabis focused tourism and doing kind of tours and all kinds of tastings and all kinds of stuff. So I'm hoping to get some folks to contribute from that side of things too, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I have a woman that's agreed to be on that operates a campground in Colorado that doesn't necessarily advocate for weed at her park, but she doesn't mind it. It should be a good conversation. She's been dealing with it for a long time, and so she has a lot of good insights into what park owners can do, and if they have people that want to smoke marijuana at their parks and things like that. So should be a good discussion. So
can you at least eat brownies next week for us, Ben?
I'd prefer Ben. I vote for no.
All he said was brownies, so he never said I had to have weed in the brownies. I can eat brownies, Brian.
Either way, yeah. No, I think we're already let's just cruise how we're used to.
Yep. So, well, thanks everyone for watching, and we hope you have a great week. And so nice talking with you, Karen and Brian.